Well, well, well. What do we have here? A total mess of a website that definitely doesn't look like the room I'm recording in right now. Hello, eBay. You've existed for almost 30 years, and for some reason you haven't thought to update your disaster of a website. To quote the Backstreet Boys, tell me why. Your homepage is a mess. Your products don't make sense, and there's so many menus within menus within menus that I feel like I'm in a cheesecake factory. Also, this endless scrolling. Why the endless scrolling? The first time I came across this, I thought I was going crazy since I was just getting the same product shown to me over and over again. I just can't. Don't worry, don't worry. I can fix you, like Jinx from Arcane. Come on over to the drawing board. This top navigation bar section is just too much. It's actually making me kind of claustrophobic the way everything is literally everywhere all at once. It just feels like there's no personal space between me and all the buttons and text. So a little whoop to tidy things up should do the trick. And above the eBay logo, what's all this tiny text on the left and right? Daily deals brand, who am I kidding? I can't even read this, and I bet you can't either. It's too small. If you're gonna have all this tiny stuff, make them icons so we can identify what's going on up here. And let's touch up everything so it's a bit more modern as well. Can't forget the search bar. Not too bad. Hope the rest is just as easy. Okay, never mind. First, we had text too small to read. Now we have way too much text. I don't know what to read. Looking at all of this is making me cross-eyed. You can say that again. Looking at all these things makes me cross-eyed. I get you're trying to show me all the options here, but this is just too much. Let me touch up the look and organization of all this before I move on to sorting out this horrendously complicated shop by category option. Let's simplify everything and lower the complexity down in the dropdowns. That way, if you want to get more specific, you can get more specific, instead of overloading the users with it immediately. Now we have 5 options here on top of this hero section looking thing: featured items, daily deals, brand outlet, eBay Live, and refurbished. Now let's move on to sorting out the sort by categories option. Okay, before going there, I need to address one important thing. This here in the top of the original UI. My name's not Joshua. Do I sound like a Joshua? Either way, I'm moving this profile button from the left to the right and giving it a nicer look with a nicer icon. Okay, now let's get to the categories. This button right here, sort by category. Oh my god, this button, why is it like this? I click it and I get greeted with the entire Constitution. I'm sorry, eBay, you want to be smooth here? Because this is not the way to go. I mean, if your idea of way to go is showing your customers out of the site, then by all means do this. But if you wanted something that's actually useful, take up less space. Let me show you. Just give me a second. See what I did here? It's easier to look at compared to the other one earlier where I was this close to getting a migraine. All right, back to the old UI, this hero image area. Really? Yay, completely illegible text in a photo the size of the entire screen. Why? I don't like it. You don't like it. Why is it still here? We can afford to widen the image a bit and give the text some breathing room, don't you think? Now imagine you're new to eBay, which most Gen Z are because they buy everything on Amazon nowadays, and you see this random assortment of allegedly relevant items. What is this? Says the Gen Z who just got their first tax-deducted paycheck. And to be honest, I don't know what section this is either. And I guess the UX designers didn't have any idea what this is either, since there's no label or logo for this. So I'm going to give this section a quick do-over so it's easier to look at what eBay wants you to see and give it a name. The Explore section. The Daily Deals section under the Explore section already looks pretty good, except for the fact that the right arrow button is superimposed on top of the image of another product. Let's add a nice fade effect on the right end of this scroller so that doesn't happen. Same goes for the recommended sellers, a nice fade on that same right side of the scroller and some sprucing up of the seller profile logos. Okay, now it's time to buy some things. Can we collectively agree that this UI looks like a 9th grader's school project? It has the same issues, everything scattered everywhere, and illegible and unnecessary text, especially the share and watch list text here in the top right. Why can't these menu options be icons? We're not 2nd graders, eBay. The actual photos of the product are all right, so we'll skip down to the similar items section. Goodness gracious, why are these similar items pictures so thin? They look like twig trees. If you're going to recommend something, at least have some pride in doing so. And speaking of, these item recommendations are really unhelpful. If I'm buying something, I don't want 3 more of the same thing being recommended to me. I already decided on what to buy. Why not put some complementary items here instead that the user might want to buy alongside the main item instead of more flavors of the original main item? We seriously need to loosen up the spacing here. 3 items for this section, and align the text accordingly so everything's nice and spaced out. Nothing too bad down here. I mean, it does exactly what it says it does. Those 2 blue text hyperlinked tabs up there could be better, though. You know what they say, blue is what you choose, and gray is not what you choose. And let's reformat all this text in the tab to something that looks nicer, and move on to the other tab here, shipping, returns, and payments. Honestly, the same changes here as well. Just some aesthetic stuff. Except, we're on an e-commerce site. Why isn't there a user review section so people can tell if a product is quality or not? Right now, there's only a seller rating section, and that's nice, but it doesn't tell us anything about the thing we want to buy. You wouldn't trust Boeing to make good submarines, would you? Though it seems like they're not good at doing their actual job either. Anyway, my point is that one seller can be great at selling one thing and terrible at selling another. So this seller rating is useless for the purpose of trying to see if the product is quality or not. So why not add another tab to the right of shipping, returns, and payments called Product Reviews and put our much-needed reviews there? You know, just like Amazon has one. This seems like it'd be a no-brainer, man. So before, we had too much text in too little space, and now we have too much space with too little text. We don't need 4-foot-long spacing for everyone on the page. It would look so much better if we just reorganized this entire section, make the ratings bar smaller, the reviews bigger, and add some text options beside the profile picture. This is so much more aesthetically pleasing. Right, okay, wow, there's a lot of suggested items here. I mean, I appreciate it, but this is just unhelpful. I want to scroll down to the footer, but the footer just never comes. I mean, seriously, is this really necessary? Did this seller pay for this to happen? 'Cause goddamn, it's in my face, and it's annoying. And for some reason, all these products are the exact same for some reason. We need to get rid of this infinite scrolling thing completely and replace it with a grid that's more manageable. And at least give me some different products to look at. Bidding time! It's almost identical to the product page, except we gotta clean up the bidding interface as well. Before I do the exact same thing with this page as the standard product page, there is something I want to fix. One of the most important parts of an auction is knowing what the bidding price is, and how many people have bid. We know how much the bidding price is, but the amount of people that bid is really hard to find. Let's put a big red mark next to the bid number, size it up, and move it down above the Place Bid button. Then we can make the current bid price a bit bigger. The rest of it is just the same old fixes as we've seen before. Actually, I'd love to save this to my watch list, so let me click on this Add to Watchlist button in the top right and... oh boy, the watch list. It's actually not that bad looking at it, but does it really need to be its own separate page? Can't it just, be a nice side panel on the edge of the screen? Why would you want another page in your web directory for no reason? Let me just make this watch list side panel, and there you go. Now it pops out the right side like a side menu, and you can close out of it to go back to what you were doing. Now, let's see what's in my cart. I want to buy something. And just like every other website I've fixed in the past, eBay is very good about consistently getting onto my nerves with the shitty UI. Another completely unnecessary page. Let's take a page out of Amazon's book and make this a side screen, just like the Watchlist page. Come on, eBay, this isn't that hard, right? Alright, wow, the checkout page. Honestly, this isn't that bad. Everything's pretty readable and makes sense, except for this payment method section. Every time I buy something from eBay, I have to select the payment method, even if I'm using the same one. Wouldn't it be nice if the payment method was remembered from the last time you shopped? It's a quality of life thing, but it's still important. This ship to section is actually just raw HTML. We can't have that. It gives off, "I'm going to steal your data" vibes. Let's make it look a bit more formal. And honestly, this legibility thing is just not eBay's forte, apparently. Why is the price tag for the item down here in the review item and shipping section so tiny? I'm paying for this, for God's sake. It's important. Make this price tag bigger. And while we're at it, make the order total bigger too. Goodness gracious. Okay, on eBay, you're either a buyer on eBay or a seller. We've taken care of the buyer side, so let's get to the seller interface. If I can find out how to become a seller in the first place, since eBay decided to hide this process for anyone with an interest to sell, we need to make the seller onboarding page a lot more findable, like with a big yellow button or something. Now you're a true seller with the true seller experience. Frustration. Well, okay, the top is not that bad, but there's two big blue buttons that both say List an Item, one in the middle of the hero image and one above it to the right. Why? This is just redundant. Let's just make the button in the hero that gets the nice blue emphasis. The real disaster is when you scroll down the page and see this very colorful "Create a Good Listing" guide with the boxes going off the page. Why? These tips aren't that long. Why the scroll? Why not just take all these colorful tips in boxes and arrange them in 2 rows, 3 in each row? Now everything's legible and it looks nice. This promotions for you section below the tips is... I don't even know what's happening here. Is the green circle being in the middle of the page a glitch? Anyway, let's conform this to the style of the rest of the page. And the FAQ. Teeny bits of text where the drop-down button is on the opposite side of this huge ocean of screen space. I'm struggling to even know if I'm on the same row as the question I wanted to expand. Push all these FAQ prompts to the right, a bit closer to the lonely drop-down button all the way over here, and let's put the big Frequently Asked Questions section header aligned to the left like the section above it. Scrolling down, another giant photo with poorly placed text. Fixed. And this footer. I know it's a footer, but that doesn't mean you should neglect it either. Phew. Finally. Now we just need to do what sellers do best. Let's click that big blue List an Item button way back at the top and let's sell some stuff. Pause. Don't tell me this is another unnecessarily complicated multi-page thing. Okay, let me show you how ridiculous this is. Here on the screen is every single one of these pages to create a listing, displayed all at the same time on the same screen. Why would you ever subject a seller to this? eBay, you realize you make money off the sellers selling stuff too, right? What's the point in making this hard for us? Instead of this huge array of different screens just to list an item, why can't we just have a nice pop-up sequence? Essentially, let's make these individual pages smaller, have them pop up in front of whatever page you were on, and you can list your item through the same manner. Put some back and next buttons on the bottom left and right so we don't have to spam the back or forward button in our actual browser, and we have something that actually makes sense. I mean, ideally, I'd have revised the selling sequence too so it's not so many steps, but it's way too late in the night for me right now. Speaking of, how much money have I made off selling on this website anyways? Oh geez, this is a lot of stuff. Why are we doing this? The most important thing for a seller is to see how much money they make, how much they sold, and how many items are still listed. So why all this text around it? This sidebar to the left, the tabs above, it's just so bizarre. We need to show what really matters. Let me just fix up this top portion first. Remove this left sidebar, move these tabs on top to the right side, and add some more options to click up there that I'll go into later. Okay, now that the important bit is done, we can just tidy up the rest of the page, rearrange the elements and buttons so it makes more sense, and arrange the vertical elements in order of importance. This bottom portion of the original UI is especially hideous. There's a "Your tasks will appear here" without any bounds to it. This promotions circle is taking up way too much space and is completely unnecessary. And these quick links are just straight HTML here. There is no experience here, nor any consideration for the users. So the only thing here is an interface, just like MS-DOS was an interface at one point. Now let's go through each of those hyperlinks in the top right above how much money we made and see what we find, starting with messages. This is quite possibly the worst email interface I've ever seen. I mean, the concept of this in the first place is just bizarre, but even going past that, the way this is presented is so cluttered. Text jutting out of the selection arrow to the left here, clunky buttons, more raw HTML. I'm just gonna fix this entire section all at once like this. There we go. Look at it now. It looks nice and feels nice. Next. Okay, listings. I guess it looks fine, but that's probably because I don't have anything listed right now. But this sidebar on the left is bothering me, so let's get rid of it. I'm also going to make the whole profit sold listing thing from the main seller overview page stick out on top here since it's related to this page. As for the rest of this empty space, let me list some items and make some changes. I'll put a nice blue sold bar under each of the items I sold so I know it's sold. Maybe even make the picture black and white? Nah, that's too much. I'll add a View Insights button under each of these sold and unsold items so I know how many people looked at it, at what times, etc. For the items I haven't sold, I'll add 2 more buttons, Edit Listing and Promote Listing, so sellers can edit their listing easier and also pay some money to get their stuff to the top of the search page if they'd like. On to the next section, Reviews. We've been changing so many things but haven't actually added a new page yet. So say hello to a completely new page, the seller's own seller review page. Here's so you can see how great of a seller you are, or shame you for being a terrible one. It's important for PR. Trust me. Okay, last tab, the shipping labels section. In the original site, this page was hidden by a whole load of stuff, buried under a bunch of links and pages, but I never understood why. I mean, you're here to sell, right? How are you going to sell something if you're not going to ship it? Do you think all your sellers are Forrest Gump or something, eBay? So I decided to make the shipping section one of the 5 main tabs here. Now you can track where your packages are without losing track of yourself in eBay's labyrinth of directories. And with that, eBay has emerged from the 1990s. Finally. You watchin', Piero Midyar? How's it look? Do I get the job now? Anyways, on to the next.